Oh, no, they're a little bit damp. That's okay. I'll pull them off. I don't personally care too much about... Why am I taking them off? I want at least one on there so that I can kind of hold up and point out. Welcome back to the Shipwrecked Sheep YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Shelby, and this is a knitting podcast. We are on episode number 2 today, and the day the video goes up will be November 1st. So I'm actually recording this on October 30th, and everything in this video covers all of my making from October 16th to October 30th of 2025. So I have got quite a few things to show you today, and I have a pretty jam-packed, busy day off of my regular job work. So I'm going to see how much we can get done and try and make this episode significantly shorter than last time. I can't make any promises right here off the bat, but I will do my very best. So let's go ahead and just get into it, and I'll talk more later in the episode about kind of what's going on that makes me maybe a little bit overly, I don't know, rushed. Let's go ahead and start with my larger work in progress. So current projects right now, there are a couple, one that you have seen before at least, and a couple of new ones. So this is this one had the least of my attention over this past week, but I did get enough done that it is fully worth talking about. So this is the Telesto pullover, or just Telesto, by Audrey Borrego, who is Yarn Flakes on social media. I'm just kind of arranging all my ends here because there are a few of them. So this is the Telesto. This is a pullover sweater with a, what do we call this? Like a drop sleeve, saddle shoulder? Yeah, that's the right term. So what you're seeing here, I'm kind of holding this from the back seam. This will actually sit right across the top of the shoulders, not at the front, just more on the top. But by the way I'm holding this sweater, you're kind of seeing a little bit more of the shoulder than you would. So it starts with these lace panels for the shoulders, and then you pick up stitches from either side and work downward, and same on the back side until you join in the round. As I mentioned last time, but I fully believe there might be some newer people watching who don't need to go back and watch the first episode. I'm not having any gauge or rowing out issues after joining in the round. I know it might look like that, but I actually blocked the top of it before I joined in the round. I don't tend to have issues with my gauge changing or having major rowing out when I switch from switch from flat knitting to in the round knitting. So I'm not concerned about that. Changes from last time. Last time I couldn't show you this very well because I had just picked up this neckband, this V-neck collar here. I had just picked that up, so that was on the needles, and the body was just kind of on hold as well. So I finished knitting the V-neck here, and then I actually went back to knitting the body before I bound off the V-neck. I did very few, like from I think this point here, so maybe 4 rows or 4 rounds, and then I got distracted by a couple of smaller projects, side quests, if you will, and I left this with 2 sets of needles on it, the body needles and the collar needles. This looks so funny. Listen, this is not, there's no bust shaping. It just looks funny because part of it's unblocked and then it's bunched up down here because it's still on needles. There's no bust shaping. This will all look more like flat and less shapely when it's done. But I left the color on the needles for, I want to say, like over a week because I got distracted by some other projects that I will show you. So this is being knit out of Lankava Heli. This is a Finnish yarn. It is a superwash merino wool. It's 175 meters to 50 grams. 175 meters. I don't know the conversion of that right off the top of my head, but if it's important to you, I'm sure you can find it. Otherwise, I will have links to all of the project pages for everything down below, so you can check there. So it's a sport weight. It's closer to a sport weight. It's labeled as a number 1 superfine weight, which to me typically means a fingering weight, but it is more of a sport weight. And yeah, it's a lovely yarn. I'm knitting this as part of the Telesto knit along with Finished Knits. I will leave a link to their website and Instagram below so that you can learn how to join in if you would like to. This knit along is ongoing for quite some time, so I'm a little bit ahead, which is probably why I feel like I'm okay with going on these little side quests and knitting other smaller things instead of focusing just on this. When I am knitting a garment, I tend to prefer to only work on that project, but at this time, most of the people in the knit along are, well, a few people haven't moved past the lace panels yet, and then I know my friend Nora, the host, she just got, I think, the front panels done, so I should probably prioritize this again very soon, because I do want to have it finished. Like, if I finish before everybody in the knit along, that's okay. I just felt really weird when I was gaining so much speed in or distance or whatever, in terms of like what other people were doing, and then somebody had commented like, oh, you're so far ahead, and it just kind of made me feel a little self-conscious. So I was like, I will calm down a little bit. And I wanted to work on a couple of other things too, so it's okay. So I'm knitting that I'm knitting that in the size 7 in the pattern, and I think there are 10 or 12 sizes. I have made a couple modifications to have it be a little bit bigger in certain areas, so just like knitting certain lengths a little bit longer than the pattern suggests. I am using 3.5 millimeter US 4, and I am using Chaogu needles, interchangeables. Generally speaking, this is what I use. I very rarely use other needles. It's either Chaogu interchangeables or Chaogu fixed circulars. And I will pretty much always remember to tell you if I use something different than that, but I'm not sure I will always remember to tell you if that's what I'm using. So the other current projects that I'm working on are, right now I have another cardigan for the Bubus in progress. So I have the 2 panels. They look like this. Let me see. They're kind of, see, they're weird shapes. It works, I promise. And I just have to attach them and do the edging, but because I need to make a tutorial for the pattern, in the tutorial I will do step by step the whole process of making the cardigan, and then I will show both of the different edgings. So one has just a straight edging that has a more open front of the cardigan, such as this one has a more open front, so that if you have little t-shirts for your Bubu doll, you can kind of show off the graphic tees. And then there's a more closed one where you can have it fully closed up at the front. That's not going to stay. Have it more fully closed up at the front. So when I make the video tutorial, I need to be able to have one that is ready to attach and do the edging, and start a new one so that most of the tutorial will be me showing every single step. And then at the end, I'll do one of the edging styles on the cardigan that I make in the video, and then the other one will be on these. So this is kind of an on hold project until I am ready to record that tutorial, which should be this week. So by the time I film the next podcast in 2 weeks, I'll probably have this one done and another one. So let me move some stuff out of my way after I talked about them. And then so with this one, I am using an E hook because I'm still kind of working out some kinks in the pattern. And I had used the 3.25 millimeter D hook for most of the other ones that I made. And then I thought maybe I should go up at a hook size just to kind of see what kind of changes that brings to the pattern. So that's what I did with this one. The pattern uses 30 to 40 yards or 10 grams of fingering weight yarn. And the one for this is Kim Dye's yarn sourdough sock in the Coreopsis colorway. So there is that one. And then finally, the last project that I'm working on is, I don't want to say I haven't cast on yet because I fully made a swatch. Oh, this might be slightly damp. No, it's okay. I fully made a swatch, so I don't actually have the active yarn attached yet. I have. Do I not have the rest of my stuff in here? Maybe I don't. I thought I brought like everything, including the needles. Oh, I did. So I don't have the actual project cast on, but I made a swatch. So we're going to talk about it as if it is a current project because I hope to have it finished actually before the next podcast. And so being able to talk about it as if it's a work in progress is fun. Okay. So that's what we're doing. So I am making the Rail Bear bonnet by Pernille Larsen, or Knitting for Olive produces these patterns. And the Rail Bear bonnet, you might have seen the Baby Bear bonnet, I think it's called. And so I had seen that one first, and I had seen somebody talk about making it and how they loved it as their go-to baby knit. And then I saw somebody else saying that they loved it, and then somebody else saying, oh, but also the Baby Bear balaclava. And I almost made the balaclava, but then I decided that it's for a younger child. The balaclava comes in, the lowest size is like a 6 to 12 month, and I am making this for a baby who is only 6 months old, and I just felt like having the balaclava where it comes down around the neck and shoulders. I don't know that that's, I don't know that that is the best idea for a small 6-month-old baby. Anyways, so I am making the Rail Bear bonnet, which is very much the same as the Baby Bear bonnet, but instead of the majority of it being stockinette stitch, it's mostly garter stitch. So my swatch is a garter stitch swatch. And so this is literally just cast on the stitches, knit garter stitch until I felt like it was enough, bind off the stitches. That's it. That's all this is. I was shooting for the pattern gauge of 22 stitches and 44 rows per 4 inches, and I was able to achieve that pretty easily with very minimal stretching of the swatch. And so when I wet blocked it and laid it out, I did just kind of figure out where my my square was, and then just like really ever so gently blocked it into position. And so I was able to achieve gauge on the recommended needle size of 3.5 millimeters or US 4. And I had to use my Luca Cipra, can you see that? Luca Cipra interchangeable set, which is not my favorite needle set, but I do prefer these over wood needles, which was my only other option. The reason I am not doing this with my Xiaogu needles is because my US 4, the only one I know where it's at anyway, is on the Telesto, And I think I have a second set of the US 4 tips, but I don't know where they are. And so I didn't want to take them off of the Telesto, because I want to make sure that I'm still working on that. So I didn't want to fully put it on hold while I worked on the bonnet. So this bonnet is for my niece. I am making it with Graphic Dye Works. Divination is the colorway. Sorry, Semi-Bold Sport. And then the colorway is Divination, which is this beautiful kind of rusty orange. I don't know. It's beautiful. I love it. This is for my niece, who is going to be 6 months old next month. And I just thought it would be nice to make a winter bonnet for her. And so this yarn specifically has been caked up and set aside for a project for her since she was born, and I just couldn't really settle on a specific project because I wanted to make a cardigan for her, but I wanted to make it so that it would be wearable during this fall and winter period, and the one skein I had wouldn't be enough for the 6 to 9 months ish size of most cardigans that I was looking at. So I've decided I'm making her a bonnet, and I might make matching mittens. I was looking up the other day, like, do you make mittens with or without the thumb holes for a 6 to 9 month old baby? Because I know that for sure you would want them without the thumb holes or the thumbs for younger babies, because they're not pinching and grasping with any sort of level of dexterity. And the whole point of mittens at that age is more for making sure they don't scratch themselves. But for a 6 to 9 month old, they're developing those actual deliberate grasping sort of motions. And so I was like, maybe I should make mittens with actual thumbs on them. So I think that's what I'll do, and I think that this will be enough, because still baby hands at 6 months old are still pretty small, so it wouldn't take very much yarn. But I'll just have to make sure that I find a pattern that uses it has a thumb, and I think I did find one. I don't remember what it's called. Anyways, so that's the Rail Bear bonnet that I will be casting on probably today. This swatch, the only reason it's not cast on is I just finished the swatch yesterday. I made this swatch mostly while I was sitting in the lobby of a Nerf gun arena. So my kiddo, my 14-year-old, is interviewing for a position because they hire a lot of teenagers, and so they were doing a group interview / tour sort of thing for the group of teens that they had. And so all the parents, we sat in for a little bit of a info session right at the beginning of the interview. It really wasn't a real interview. It was really more like an info session / pre-training. And then we all waited in the lobby while the owner gave the kids a tour and showed every single room and, what their specific tasks would be on the job. And so it took an hour or so. I knit the swatch, I let it dry overnight, and we're good to go. I can cast on today. So I'm very excited about that. Now let's talk about recently finished projects. So I have a couple of projects that I talked about 2 weeks ago that I need to share updates on. So let's start with actually the last one on my list, because I don't have it in here with me. I finished it and then I gave it to my kid, and I forgot to ask her to look for it yesterday, and I could not find it very easily in her room, so we're gonna hope that she hasn't lost it, but it's not a big deal either way. And that is the Juliet by Ash Christine, which I showed as a finished project last week as well. And all I had left to do was sew on a button and tie the little bow. So I'm going to, on this side, go ahead and pop up the finished object picture so that you guys can see that. That is the Juliet by Ash Christine. I started knitting this, cast on, and did most of the headband part in March of 2021, and then I abandoned that project for quite some time. I picked it up a couple of weeks ago and did the last little part, which included the buttonhole and the little bow section. This is knit from the Fiber Co. Canopy Fingering Weight, which is a now discontinued base of primarily alpaca and merino, I think. I knit this on a 3.5 millimeter US 4. I knit this on DPNs, like wooden DPNs, because the majority of the project is like this wide. And so it was easy to just put them on a DPN. Even though it's not in the round, it's fully knit flat. I used the colorway Mango, and I used half a skein, which is 24 grams, because this came in 50 gram increments. The Fiber Co does that a lot. A lot of their yarns come in 50 gram skeins, and I think it's because a lot of their yarns are made with alpaca or other luxury fibers, and so they sell them in half skein or 50 gram increments. I think because they cost a little bit more, you can buy them in half. You know, like if a project requires 1.5 skeins of something, of a more affordable wool or whatever, it's not a huge deal if you then have half of a skein left over if you only used like 130 grams of it. But if you're paying for a more expensive yarn, it might be more beneficial to be able to buy only like 150 grams instead of 200 grams if you're only going to use 130 of them. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, so it used 98 yards for me, and yeah, so there's that. That was a lovely thing to finish and get out of my graveyard of project whips. So the second finished project, I'm not really doing these in order of when I finish them. I'm just doing them in order of when I'm showing them to you. So, right, of when I'm showing them to you, exactly. So, if you'll remember, I showed you guys the yarn cozies that I had been making. I showed them last week. I made another one. This one has only like 40 grams of yarn left in it, and it started as 100 grams, so it's a little bit wonky, but I promise it's the same shape as this one. It simply is, the yarn in it is more used up than this one. This time I did just the simple ribbing pattern instead of the sort of faux cable that I had done on the others. And so this time I made it with Yarn Love Goldilocks Fingering in the colorway Peach Jellyfish, which was a exclusive colorway for Eat Sleep Knit in 2018. It used 49 yards or 14 grams, and I made it with a 2.5 millimeter or US 1.5 needle. Different on this one than I think the other two of these that I made is that I think I didn't go up a needle size to do the I-cord edging on these two, but I did on this one. So I went up to a 2.75 millimeter or US 2 for the I-cord, and I don't know if I like that or if I prefer it or not, but it's fine. One thing I did was I mentioned last time that when I was making these ones, let's see, when I finished, instead of just drawing the yarn through the last couple stitches of the I-cord and then fastening it off, I tried to pick up the first 3 stitches of the I-cord and kind of graft them to the last 3 stitches, which didn't look super neat on either of the other two, like that I made out of this yarn. So on this one, I decided to simply follow the instructions where you pull the yarn through the last 3 stitches and then just kind of try and make it look tidy, and I just didn't feel like the join looked very good at all. So I will not do that if I make this project or this pattern again, and I anticipate I'll make it again. I am really enjoying these. So I won't do that if I do this again. I will try the picking up of the 3 first stitches and grafting to the 3 final stitches. I will do that again next time. But I'm glad I tried it the way the pattern was written. This is the Yarn Cozy Light pattern by Natalie of Knitty Natty. I really like the way the colors on this one spiral flash. I just think that's so fun. The reason I made another one of these was because although I had 2 of these, and I had finished the previous project that I had been using this for, and so I had very little yarn left. I took the yarn out of the cozy and, you know, rewound it into a little tiny cake because it only was like 15 grams left. And then I had an empty yarn cozy, which I could have used for this yarn. But I then gave that yarn cozy to my my kiddo who crochets so that they could use the yarn cozy on their yarn, because it was the first time that they were using a fingering weight yarn caked up instead of their like acrylic skeins that are already kind of in a ball type shape. Anyway, so I went and wound up this yarn for a project, and then I was like, I don't have a cozy to put it in. And I had enjoyed using the center pull technique so much that I wanted to have a cozy on my yarn. I personally, historically, have really never loved using center pull because I don't like the mess that it makes and the shifting around of the strands as it compresses and sinks into itself as the yarn comes out of the middle. So for the last, I've been knitting for almost 20 years and pretty relatively more for the last like 13 of those years. So I would say for the last decade, I've always just on the pre-wound this kind of skeins, I will pull from the center, but on yarn cakes, I would always pull from the outside. And so I liked it so much with the project that I did do, and so I wanted to do it again. So I made another cozy, which I thought was so silly because I literally had already wound up this gray beige, it's more of a beige. I had already wound this up. It was sitting on my ball winder, and I was like, I can't take it off until I'm ready to put a yarn cozy on it. So I made a yarn cozy that night, and I delayed starting my project, which is so ridiculous. Anyway, so that is something else that I finished. Oh my gosh. And I actually have already finished the project that I was working on with this yarn, so I will show you that in a minute. I have a couple more things. I promise you that although I have so little progress on Telesto from 2 weeks ago to now, it's not because I haven't been making. So let's see. Last time I had shown you this little granny, I'm calling the pattern Little Granny Bubu Cardigan, which is supposed to invoke the title of that old children's sing-along poem song, Little Bunny Foo-Foo. There it is. Okay, I know it's silly, but anyways, I'm naming the pattern Little Granny Bubu Cardigan. Anyways, I did not trim my ends after blocking and weaving them in, but that's neither here nor there. Last time I was working on this project, and I did not copy over all of the details, so let me go back to last week's notes. This is the same yarn as you saw on the little cozy from the bonnet project. This is Madeline Tosh Twist Light, which is a 75% merino, 25% nylon. This is the bioluminescent colorway, and I made this with the 3.25 millimeter hook, or a D hook. So last time I think that I was almost done. I had not done the edging, and maybe I had only even made one of the panels. Maybe I had not done the second panel yet. Anyways, so that one's done. I have since made another one, and this one was the first one that I tried using the E hook, or the 3.5 millimeter. So this is made with Shipwrecked Sheep Pure Single and then 99 Luff Balloons colorway. Yeah, and I made this one with the E 3.5 millimeter hook. And so it is a little bit bigger than the other one, I think, by not very much though. Actually, it might be basically the same size. The thing is, using the single ply yarn, it ended up being a slightly smaller gauge than I anticipated, because it's essentially the same size as the one using the Madeline Tosh Twist Light, which is a slightly heavier gauge fingering. So then that's why I cast on another with the 3.5 millimeter hook out of a more medium to heavy fingering weight. Anyways, so I made 2 more of these little cardigans, and I will have 2 more next time to show you, and that's okay. One more thing that I had shown you in progress last time, I think I had 1 sock done and 1 half done, or maybe just started the cuff, and that is my DK weight Fleagle heel, reverse Fleagle heel sock. So this is a test knit. Actually, I should probably send her my feedback today, because I think the test is ending very soon. This is a test knit for Abby of What I Knit. And it's for the heel pattern specifically. I don't want to get too close because I have worn these socks and not washed them again, so excuse me. Might be a little bit of fuzzies on it, but this is for the heel pattern specifically. All of the rest of it is just plain, kind of made up, self-drafted, but the heel construction is a cuff down Fleagle heel, where a Fleagle heel is more traditionally made in a toe up construction. So most of the time the Fleagle heel goes this way. This pattern is written so that it goes, you do the heel flap first and then the gusset. Anyways, I love the pattern. These fit really lovely. And so then I cast on a second pair, which I just finished up a couple of days ago, that have also been fully finished and blocked. I think they're dry now. Maybe not. I don't personally care too much. Oh, no, they're a little bit damp. That's okay. I'll pull them off. I don't personally care too much about... Why am I taking them off? I want at least one on there so that I can kind of hold up and point out certain things. Okay. First of all, the important thing to point out is the way the heel is constructed. This blocker is for my size foot, but the way it's constructed is if I had put the edge of the heel right at the edge of the heel on the blocker, the toe sticks out quite a lot. Like that's how much fold over we have. And this fits me. And historically, these blockers have been for socks that fit me. Another notable thing is I actually cast on the 68 stitch count for this pair of socks, and I personally should only be making socks for myself at this gauge with a 64 or 60 stitch count, because 68, these are quite loose and slouchy on me. And I knew this very early on and did not make adjustments because I thought, it actually would be really nice to have some just super squishy, kind of no ease or slightly positive ease socks to just kind of hang around the house in. I know that if I wore these in shoes of any kind, they would likely slip down my foot as the day went on because there's no negative ease. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. These are super comfy. I have woven in ends, but I have not snipped them because I just finished blocking them. I like to block them because my stitches don't always look the prettiest before I block them. And honestly, because these have so much positive ease, blocking them on the blocker didn't really fix that because there's no stretch happening. Like this is... And so for me, what I usually like to do is when I finish socks, I block them on the blocker so that it stretches out the stitches and evens them up and makes them all tidy. And then I wet them again and just lay them flat to dry so that they can kind of shrink back in and not be all stretched out. Or I'd throw them in the dryer if they're super wash. But the point being... These blockers are too small to do that, so my stitches are not the tidiest. So let's talk about these. So again, this is the reverse fleagle heel, so it's knit this way, all the way down. And I used a contrast for this one because her pattern does include instructions for how to start the contrast. And I need to give her feedback about this because when making the sock, you start the... Let me look at this for a second, sorry. You start the contrast on this side, and then you're working the heel, and then the contrast ends on this side, which causes the problem of then you need to be able to start working with your main color again, but you left your main color over here. My solution for that is to just slip all the stitches on the front, just slip them all. Don't do anything with them, just like basically rearrange the needles so that you can slip them. This isn't probably an issue of any kind if you're using double pointed needles, but when you're using magic loop, you have your needles together on, this is not magic loop length, but you have your needles together like this, which means you have your working yarn here, and this is like the other side of the sock. So it's a problem when your working yarn is over here. And so for me, all I did was just slip the stitches. And I need to make a note of that to her because the pattern does not say anything about that. It just implies that when you stop that contrast color, you should be able to pick up and continue working in the main color, and you can't actually do that the way it is currently written. I will let her know, and I'm sure it will be fixed before the sock is put out. And I think the fix is to just simply slip all the stitches across, but she might come up with a fix that has you working the contrast color back across the other way for one row or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, I love the heel construction. I love the heel construction a lot. I'm going to continue using her pattern. I'm very excited and will let you all know when that is finally released, and it might be in just a couple days, I'm not sure. The color I used is Geode by Old Rusted Chair. It is this extremely lovely beige with dark navy blue, bright kind of teal green, and some sort of like a pumpkin-y rusty orange on this sort of dark beige color called Geode, and I love it very much. I picked up this skein of yarn in, I think, 2018 at House of Yarn in Tennessee, one of my favorite yarn shops. And then the contrast heel flap and toe is the snare drum 5-pack. So let me back up. It's from Lorna's Laces, and they're no longer dyeing, but they used to package mini skeins and call it the String Quintet, so that you would get 5 mini skeins that were 25 grams each for a total of 125 grams in a pack. This is an 80% merino, 20% nylon in a 4-ply, which is not super common for indie dyers, but that's what Lorna's Laces was using. And so this was from the 5-pack set called Snare Drum. and snare drum is the colorway that is applied to the whole 5-pack. And this is just the teal color from that set. It's showing up a little bit more blue on my monitor thing here, but yeah, I think that's really all there is to say about that. Again, I knit this with a 68 stitch count, and I should have made it with a 64 if I wanted them to be snug fitting. I like to use a, lost it there for a second. It's a US 1.5, which is, hang on, somewhere I have written the millimeter conversion of that. I'm so certain. I think it's a 2.5 millimeter. Yeah, it is. I wrote it down. So it's a 2.5 millimeter or a US 1.5 magic loop circular. For this sock, I did an extremely long 1x1 ribbed cuff of 45 rounds. And then I worked straight into the leg. I did not go up or down a needle size for the cuff. I don't tend to enjoy doing that, but sometimes I do. So for this one, I did not. Yeah. And then my standard rounded wedge toe. So I think that's all there is to say about that. But if I left anything out or you're still curious about something, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. I will say you might have seen me picking some fuzzes off of here. It's nothing wrong with the yarn. I finished these and was so extremely joyous about finishing this pair of socks, and I thought these are so comfortable. They're so nice. And then I just wore them around the house for the rest of the evening for like 3 or 4 hours. Before I even blocked them. I washed and blocked them the next day. So when I washed them, I went, oh, we need to sweep our floors. There's just a lot of like lint and hairs and things like that. It sounds gross, but I'm sorry. It's a normal human thing. So anyway, so I have 2 pairs of socks with the reverse or cuff down Flegel heel by Abby of What I Knit. The pattern comes out very soon. I'll leave her information below so that you can follow her for more information when that comes out. Otherwise, I will let you know in the podcast episode that is closest to when it comes out. Probably next time. Anyways, these are, I'm going to put this back on here. Ooh, there's a bird right outside making some sounds. Where are you? Oh, you're right on the fence right there. Hey, sweetie. Oh, there's a couple of them. Okay, I'm not going to get distracted by the birds, I swear. So that is everything that I've recently finished. So if you watched last video, episode 1, you might remember that I talked about upcoming projects and that I had mentioned a bunch of different cardigans that I was considering making, all the different yarns that I had set aside for them, and asked you to help me pick. And I found out, I think before I even posted that episode, like after I recorded, but while I was editing and whatever, I found out that one of them I did not actually have enough yarn for. Like I had the yarn picked out for it, and then I went and looked at the yardage requirements again and how much yarn I had, and it was not enough. So I thought maybe nobody will vote for that one, and everybody liked that one the most. So I am sorry to tell you that if you participated in last week's Help Me Choose a Cardigan to Cast On, you can participate again because I have more information on that and more updates and details. So let's start. Overwhelmingly, everybody chose the Farmhouse Cardigan by Amy Christoffers in the Pickles colorway of Comfort Erin by Shipwrecked Sheep. I did say this last time, and I'm going to repeat it because I also don't recommend new viewers to this episode actually go back and watch the last one. I don't recommend it, so I'm going to repeat some information here. Shipwrecked Sheep, the name of this channel, and Shipwrecked Sheep, the yarn company, are the same person. I did used to dye yarn. I am no longer dyeing yarn as of 2021 or something like that. 2022, I stopped dyeing yarn. I no longer do hand-dyed yarn. I'm sorry if that disappoints some of you. Several of my good friends and people, I know that it disappoints some of you, and I'm sorry. I am not saying never ever again, but I have absolutely no plans or intentions of ever dyeing yarn again. So anyways, so I did dye this yarn. This is the Pickles colorway. This is the Comfort Aran base, which is 80% merino and 20% alpaca. Yep. So it's lovely. I have 8 skeins of it, which is not enough for the Farmhouse Cardigan by Amy Christoffers. I was wrong. I would have needed 10 skeins. I thought I had 10, and then I went back and looked at my records, and I actually only have 8. So we have some alternates, though. I have come prepared. Do not worry. I looked up a lot of things, and I double-checked everything this time, so we are prepared. So if you chose the Farmhouse Cardi by Amy Christoffers because you thought the cardigan was cool, I have alternates for yarn choices for that. I also, if you chose it because you thought the yarn was cool, I have an alternate for the yarn. So I have an alternate pattern. So let's get into it. So I'm going to lay out 4 options here. And that sounds like a lot, but it's actually only, you'll see. So there's an alternate for the yarn. There's only one alternate for the yarn, and that is the Traveler's Cardigan by Ozetta or Haley Smedley. I have plenty of yarn to knit that pattern. I'm like shifting my body because I think that I'm going to put pictures on this side. So I've only chosen one alternate pattern for this yarn, and that is the Traveler's Cardigan by Ozetta. It is not quite as long as the Farmhouse Cardigan, and it does not have the thick collar button band area that the Farmhouse does. And also the Farmhouse is made of like a waffle stitch sort of squishy texture, so it eats up more yarn. Whereas I believe the Traveler's Cardigan is mostly stockinette. I like that pattern. I did not choose it as an alternate after the fact. It was one that I already have on my favorites. So it's not something where I was like, oh, well, now I need to find a new pattern to go with this yarn. It's a different pattern that I already had in mind to make, and it would look lovely with this yarn. So Traveler's Cardigan by Ozetta. Out of this yarn, what do you think? Next option. I have found other yarn in my stash that a ball band fell for a different thing, don't worry. I have found other yarn in my stash to make the Farmhouse Cardigan by Amy Christoffers. However, I need to make the 50-inch size for the Farmhouse Cardigan because that would give me only 2.5 inches of positive ease on a good day. And I feel like the styling is meant for more ease than that. And so I just have decided that I'm not making the Farmhouse Cardigan by Amy Christoffers. It is not a size-inclusive design. It only has 5 sizes, with mine being the largest size. And normally I find myself, with size-inclusive patterns, being pretty in the middle, just slightly to the upper range. Almost never am I the largest size. And I just made a commitment many years ago that, generally speaking, I would do my best to never make a pattern where I am the largest size, because that is an indicator that it is not a size-inclusive pattern. And in this case, 50-inch finished size, not including ease, is not size-inclusive, especially for a design where it should have a couple of inches of ease. So I am not making the Farmhouse Cardigan by Amy Christoffers. Dead stop. However, I have found 2 patterns. See, that's why I said it was 4 options, but it's actually less. It's 3 options. This being option 1 with the Ozetta pattern, the Traveler's Cardigan. I did find alternate yarn to make a pattern more similar to the farmhouse. And so then I went digging for patterns that were similar to the farmhouse cardigan, meaning they have that waffle stitch texture. They have the like thick shawl collar. So I found 2 contenders for this, and I will make sure that I put them on the screen. I will make one of these patterns with Ella Ray Superwash Classic Wool. I have 9.5 of these balls. Again, on my monitor, it's showing a little bit blue, and in my opinion, it is slightly more green than blue, but it's a bluish color. The colorway is called Bermuda. It's number 130. I have 9.5 of these because I actually had a 10 pack, like a full sealed bagged 10 pack of these balls. And then I made mittens for my daughter just a couple of years ago, and that used half a skein. So I have 9.5 balls of this, which is enough to make either of these 2 patterns, but only one of them. And I wouldn't make both of them because they're similar. Again, I was looking for a very specific look. One is the Campsite Waffle Cardigan by Alexandra Tavel, or Tavel. I would be able to make the size 5. It recommends approximately 16 to 18 inches of positive ease. The size 5 would give me 13 inches of positive ease, which I feel like makes way more sense. I cannot imagine having that much ease. So I would choose to make the size 5 with 13 inches of positive ease. The Campsite Waffle Cardigan has all over thick, bulky waffle texture with a Aran or worsted weight. So not bulky yarn, but the texture is chunky looking waffle texture. So that's option 1. Option 2 is the Community Cardi by Alicia Plummer, which for me, I would be able to make in the size 6 with the intended 4 inches of positive ease. And it also has a lot of similar texture. It will use slightly more yarn because I believe it's a little bit longer. And I like the length idea, but I should have enough still. I do think it's a little bit funny that initially this yarn was supposed to be used for an Alicia Plummer pattern that I ultimately decided not to make because I didn't care about it. I had swatched for it and I kind of went, you know what, I don't think this pattern's for me. So I bought the whole thing and everything. And so I think it's funny if I then flex the whole idea of that cardigan all the way into being a totally different yarn, but also for an Alicia Plummer pattern. So we have 3 options here. Go ahead and leave your comments or opinions in the comments below, and we will pick a cardigan for me to make, okay? So either I am making the Traveler's Cardigan by Ozetta out of Pickles. Oh, by the way, before we fully vote on this, I will make the Traveler's Cardigan by Ozetta out of this yarn. It's a matter of, do I cast it on next? So we're picking the cardigan cast on for November, right? Okay, so in November, am I making the Traveler's Cardigan out of Pickles? Or am I making Campsite Waffle Cardigan by Alexandra Tavel out of Bermuda? Or option 3, am I making the Community Cardi by Alicia Plummer out of Bermuda? So give me your opinions. I will leave links to all of these patterns via Ravelry down below, so that if having the picture here wasn't enough to help you decide, that's okay with me. I do have enough to make either of those cardigans out of this. When I make one, I will not make the other because they're very similar. So either this or this. Yeah, which of the 3 cardigans should I make out of which of the 2 yarns? I will say that I have no intention of making the Traveler's Cardigan by Ozetta out of this yarn. That's not part of the plan. That would be out of this yarn either way. I hope that all made sense. So let's talk about acquisitions. Now, this segment of the podcast is, again, like fully about yarny things that I've acquired. And I have not acquired new yarn in a little while. And I don't intend to acquire new yarn for a while. Well, we'll talk about that later. But I did acquire a yarny sort of thing. Now, you don't have to be a yarny person to have one of these for sure. This is definitely like a mass market type item, but a lot of yarny people like these. This is called a gleaner, and the idea is that it's very helpful for removing pilling off of your knit projects. So it comes with 3 edges. So now I have not taken it out of the little dust bag, but it does come in a cute little dust bag. And let's see, I think I got the green one. Yeah. And the green is only like an accent color on the handle, so you can kind of see that in there. I'm not going to ruffle around the bag too much and get all this stuff off, but I bought this because I needed desperately to depill this part of the sweater on a store-bought cardigan that I love to wear all the time, but it's so heavily pilled. And in my head I thought, okay, well, I haven't worn my hand knits to the point that they're pilling a lot, mostly because almost every hand knit pullover that I have made, I have finished it, woven in the ends or not, never blocked it, and then never wore it. I have a lot of, it's ridiculous, it's absurd. It's almost like I knit it just for the fun of knitting it, right? I did fully finish a top this summer that I had made and gifted to my sister. I fully finished like the plumeria tank from Wool and Pine. I made that fully and woven ends and blocked it, etc. I did all the good things for every garment that I made this year. But I only wore the plumeria once because I made it for an event and I wanted to wear it during warmer weather, and well, I just haven't had a chance or need to wear it since I'm distracted because I just realized there's a rake leaning up against the fence. And I think it's our rake, but it could be our neighbor's rake leaning up against our fence, which is weird. I don't know. It must be our rake. I don't know why it's there though. That is so beyond the point. The point is, I need to depill one of my favorite commercially made cardigans, and I am in the process of weaving in ends and blocking all of my other hand knit sweaters that I made years ago, and I want to be able to keep them looking nice, so I bought a gleaner finally. This is another one of those things that, like, I don't really like to buy stuff on Amazon, but I did buy that on Amazon because it's one of the best places to get it. If you happen to find gleaner in your local yarn store, probably buy it there, but mine does not carry it. And I don't really have a hyper-local yarn shop. I have to drive a little bit farther than I would personally like. I think my town should have a yarn store, but it does not. I would love to open one, but finding affordable retail space is absurd around here, and I just don't have the capital for any of that. Okay, that's it. That's the only acquisition. On to announcements and life stuff. So I already talked about my kiddo getting a job. As long as they are able to get the school in the state of Washington, schools have to sign off for teens to work. It's basically a thing that says, hey, yeah, this student gets pretty good grades, they can work. And yeah, that's what it is. So as long as the school signs off, and I don't foresee an issue, my teen will have a weekend job coming up soon. So that is an exciting thing. Yeah. Another sort of thing is today, as long as I finish up in enough time, I am hoping to make a special trip to a special shop and get yarn for a specific design that has been floating in my head for the last week that I wanted to make. I want to make it out of their yarn because I am not envisioning it in any other, like I've looked through my stash, I've looked through everything. I want to make it out of sport weight yarn, and I just simply do not have that much sport weight yarn in my stash. I have maybe like 5 skeins, including the one that I just started making something else with, and that wouldn't have been suitable for the project anyways. So all I'm saying is I have a very specific yarn in mind, and I am incredibly lucky to live close enough to where this yarn is produced that I can go and buy it. It's not super close, but it's close enough. So I'm hoping that I can finish up here and make the drive out and get the yarn for that design today. I would have actually preferred to not do it on the same day that I'm recording, because this makes a busy day already busier. But I am actually working this weekend covering for a coworker. I normally only work every other Saturday, but I'm working 3 Saturdays in a row because this weekend is supposed to be my colleague's day, and she asked for the day off. So I said, yes, I will work it. No big deal. So this is my only day that I can go and pick up this yarn for the next forever. And I just would really like to get this project cast on. It's a small project. It's like a 1 or 2 skein project. And I just want to get it made and get it out to people, because I am really excited about it. So I can probably ask this yarn brand for designer yarn support, but I would actually like to get the first sample just made up on my own dime. I have no problem buying the yarn for it, and then submitting the pattern proposal to them and just saying, hey, we can work on like having a relationship for publishing this pattern, and making sure that they have the yarn available and can help me promote the pattern. But instead of waiting for them to provide the yarn to me, I would much rather be able to just go and, does that make sense? Go and get the yarn and make it happen. Last thing is I have such non-concrete plans for this, but I think that because I'm only recording every 2 weeks, I have to talk about this now and just get my act together real fast. I've been wanting to do a hat make-along. Those of you who've known me and been following my online journey for the last decade, you know that generally speaking, I actually really love to knit hats. So why have I not had a knit hat to show you? Don't know. But I love making hats, and I'm kind of when I buy interchangeable needles, I always buy the smaller tips, because I then can fit them on the smaller cables to make 16-inch circulars, because I like knitting hats that much. I have no other care for how long the needle tips are, whether they're the longer ones or the shorter ones. For me, it's important to be able to make hats. It's absurd. Okay. Anyways, so I'm going to do a hat make along. I know, I'm going to say it now. It is starting today on the day this video goes live, November 1st. So we're going to be doing a hat make along. It's going to run from November 1st to January 31st. So 3 months. I recognize that makes it run over a important holiday season. But the hats we're going to talk about it real quick. So hats make an extremely wonderful gift knit. So if you want to make projects for family members or loved ones this upcoming holiday season, hats make an incredibly good gift, because they don't take that much time, they don't take that much yarn, and they're kind of universal item. So You know, a lot of people like them. A lot of people need to wear them in the cooler months, depending on where you live. Also, hats and other small accessory items make incredible charity knits. So a lot of organizations look for hats and scarves and gloves over the winter to distribute to people in need, whether they are underhoused or just even if they are housed, they don't maybe have access to being able to purchase things outside of food. And right now in the United States, there is a massive, massive food scarcity issue because the government is just making it extremely impossible for people to survive. SNAP benefits are not being distributed. It's a problem. So first of all, probably do your best to help out your community in this time, whether it's donating to food pantries, or, you know, making sure that your people in your neighborhood that you know or suspect might not have good access to food, just make sure that they are getting what they need. I know a lot of people are planning on supplementing candy handouts over Halloween with shelf-stable food items like Easy Mac, ramen noodles, canned foods, etc., in addition to the candy that they're giving out to kids. So I know that that's a thing that a lot of people are doing, and I think that's great. Anyways, so Hat Make Along runs from today, November 1st, to the end of January, and I encourage you to consider making for charity if you don't have anybody to gift knit for. You can crochet or knit hats. You can use like a hat knitting machine thing if that is easier for you and you like to do that. I personally am going to be making for Knit the Rainbow, which is an organization that collects hats, mittens, scarves, shawls, cowls, sweaters, etc., all kinds of things that they distribute to LGBTQIA plus youth in I think the majority of it is in the greater New York City area, but I believe that they also distribute farther out than that. There are collection points for Knit the Rainbow all over the country, and I personally, you can either mail in to the actual Knit the Rainbow organization, or you can drop off at your local collection point. So I'll leave the details for Knit the Rainbow below. You can choose your own charity, whether it be a charity for underhoused people. You can even drop off to your local organization that supports underhoused people, your local food bank, your local, I know in my town we have a place that provides warm beverages and a warm place to hang out for underhoused people during the day. And so you can donate your stuff however you want. If you want to make for charity, you don't have to make for underhoused people. You can make chemo caps or NICU baby hats, whatever you want. So we're gonna have a hat make along. I will put a hashtag here and wherever that you can post to the internet about, to the social media, whatever. I need to include a way to submit for prizes for this make along, and so there will probably be like a Google form or something below, or more details below, but I will get my stuff together. If there are not details about how to enter the make along for prizes in the description box below or on the screen, just know that I will give more details next time. But you can start making your hats today. And yeah. So I have what I will include below is I have a Ravelry bundle with a bunch of hat patterns that I have been looking at over the years that I really love. Many of them are in my favorites or in queue, and it's got like 50 patterns maybe. A combination of crochet and knit, though most are knit, and a combination of free and paid for patterns. So I will also be collecting prizes for this. I have a few things in mind, so I'm going to sponsor it myself and collect some prizes that I will send out. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all we have for the day. That's all that I have written down in my notes. That's all the announcements I have. I feel like I talked a mile a minute. I also know that this video recording is significantly shorter than the last one, so you're welcome. My tea is cold now, but in case you're wondering, this is the sweet positive tangerine, something like that from Yogi Teas. And this mug is from David's Tea. Today was a tea bag and not loose leaf kind of day. So the Yogi or Yogi, they do not put the name of the teas on their tea tags. They just put cute little inspirational things. This one says your actions prove your greatness. This one says the principal ingredient of life is love. And so they don't put the flavor names on there, so I can't remember, but I think it's like sweet positive tangerine. It's a black tea that has a really tangerine flavor. I think it's black tea. It might be a green tea. I need to go warm that up though. So I do not have a specific announcement for the release of this pattern. I will put the tester link below. Again, I know I had said, I think before, that the test for this would probably end October 31st, but I am still waiting to have edits made to the pattern, like tech editing done. So if you would like to test the little Granny Bubu cardigan for your Labubus, go ahead and enter in your information into that Google form link that will be linked below again, and I can send out the pattern. And I think I'm aiming for a mid-November release, so probably maybe I will have a lot more details about release date next time I talk to you. And yeah, I will see you on, I think the 15th. Yeah. By the way, today, the day I'm recording, is National Candy Corn Day. So, did you have enough candy corn? Also, a reminder that in the United States, daylight saving ends on Sunday the 2nd. So, this video comes out on the 1st. Make sure you set your clocks back tonight. If you are a fully digital person and you don't even have a clock over your stove or on your microwave or whatever, you might want to check that. And your car. Or if you're like me, you might just decide to let your car stay the way it is for half a year, and then it'll be right in 6 months again. Anyways, yeah, let me know what you are up to this the next couple weeks. And let me know if you plan to make some hats with us. And did you celebrate Halloween? Did you dress up? Did your kids dress up? If you have kids, or did you see a cool costume that you just want to talk about? Let me know in the description box below. I would love to hear about it. My youngest is going as a fairy because my coworker gave me some cute fairy wings a couple of months ago, and she decided she would make a costume out of that. And so we picked up a cute little dress at the thrift store it's kind of a full DIY costume. Like, all of the pieces can be reused again. The dress is something that she can wear to school or to play in. The wings are like just a nice playtime prop. But yeah, my 10-year-old is going as a fairy. And I don't think my older two are doing anything. Neither of them have asked if they can, like, what they want to do. Normally they go hang out with their friends, but they've made no plans for that. So this might be one of those school project last minute things where they tell me tonight what they plan to do, and it's going to be a problem. Anywho, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to receive notifications for the next upload, you can also click the notification bell, or you can just subscribe and I'll show up in your subscription feed next time. If you enjoyed the video, also make sure to do the thumbs up like thing on the video, because that helps my channel and videos be seen by other people. So I think that's it. I'm still working on like lighting and camera things in this space, and I don't think that I will record in this space permanently all the time, but this is what I've got for now. It's just a random little corner in my bedroom. Okay. I think that's everything. Take care of yourselves. Make sure you look after your neighbors and, you know, other people. But yeah, have a good one. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.